The biggest problem I've had, I think, in the last 10 years has been undertreatment. It's been to the point many times that the doctors were more worried about the DEA than the patient, the way I felt. My name is James Fernandez. I'm 54 years old. I'm a retired Marine. I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps. I was a helicopter door gunner crew chief. I had over 3,000 flight hours. I logged 54 combat hours in the Gulf War.
My name is Pat Fernandez, of course, and we're from Arizona. And I met my husband through my brother. He was working at the open pit mines in Arizona one time when you came out of the Marine Corps, and he had these massive arms. I was like, I had never seen such huge arms on a man, and I thought they were pretty nice to look at. So then when he found out that I liked his arms, he used to come around and flex for me, you know. Yeah, so we've been married about 23 years.
I became ill shortly after returning from the Gulf.
He came back and his clothes were really strange smelling, and everything was brown, and he had a lot of blisters on his skin. And he just wasn't quite right. He wasn't one to complain, but he did complain about certain things with his hands. His hands weren't working right. And being that he was in helicopters, they work with a lot of chemicals. You know, when they wash it down, the helicopter and things like that.
Cervical degenerative disc disease, lumbar degenerative disc disease, chronic low back pain, cervical spondylosis, bilateral osteoarthritis, Gulf War syndrome, morbid obesity, fibromyalgia, and I tested positive for lupus. I started going to the doctor and being placed on medications, non-narcotic medications. I became so ill and the medications became so much that I began bleeding internally, and they changed me to morphine. Early on, it was such a relief. It took quite a while. As I became accustomed to the morphine, my body did, or wanted more for more relief. I started noticing right away the reluctance to give me an increase in it. And as I met new doctors, I always had to hammer out the story over and over, my past, my history, what was wrong, my tests, if I had current tests, if I needed more before they would even consider hearing about treating me. And the biggest problem I've had, I think, in the last 10 years has been undertreatment. Doctors are being reluctant to prescribe morphine or narcotics, are very likely to give me much less medication than I need. And then I have doctors that say, I can't give you that much because it'll red flag me with the DEA. It's just too much. You can't do it. It doesn't matter whether the end result is I'm without pain. What matters is how they're going to explain it to someone or document it or tell somebody why they're doing it. And that's been a big problem all along. It became hard to find a doctor that would believe me. And the problem I had was I would find a doctor that would believe me, or I'd build credibility with. I'd make a rapport with a good doctor. He'd start treating me, and then he'd go away, especially with military doctors, VA doctors. They do terms, short terms, a year, 2 years maybe, and they move on. When they move on, they get a replacement, and you start all over again.
And then when you go in and I sit in there with the doctors or with him, sometimes he'll talk about how much morphine he's on and things, and you just see the look on their face, and right away it's like you're just an addict, you know, a drug addict or something, and you think he's got to go through the whole spiel again.
The problem was they were all very afraid of the DEA. Even my current doctor says when they come in for to arrest someone or for fines. That's all they come in for. If I got to document everything, or else I'm not covered. They're just terrified whenever it's brought up, DEA and narcotics. Well, my pain level is still, right now, my pain level is a 6. I hurt. I can't walk. I can't make it to the mailbox out in the front yard. I don't go to the store. My wife goes to the store, fills my prescriptions for me, brings me my cold drinks or my lunch. I don't go with her because of my pain levels. I can't travel. The only time I really go out is when I go to the doctor's. I never thought I'd have to live that way. I really didn't.
It's just sad as far as to see a loved one in pain. And there's nothing you can do. You feel cheated because you look forward to retirement. I just turned 50. He's 53. And you can't do anything. You can't go to a movie together. Our friends don't even come around that often because it's like, why should we include them? Because they can't keep up with us. I'm very glad, and I think about it quite often when I go to these doctors, that they're very careful about what they prescribe to you, the amounts, what it is.